with Spokane Audio, probably the smallest car audio store you've never heard of. I work here with my coworker Mark. It's just the two of us here, and we get to work on some pretty special projects for some super cool customers. You'll see we got another Ford Bronco here. We've worked on quite a few of these. This one's a little bit different than the past ones that we've shown you. So stick around and we'll show you everything we did in this one. This one has quite a bit of stuff in it, so it's probably worth a watch. We usually start in the front and go to the back, but let's start in the back and move to the front because there's some cool stuff back there, and let's not lose everybody on the kind of boring stuff that's usually in the front. Everything cool's in the back. So we'll start in the back and show you the subwoofer box. All right, in the back here, we got two JL Audio 13W7 woofers. This box here, this is a sealed enclosure. The enclosure is split in the center, so it's two separate enclosures. There's an amplifier for each woofer, but we are running 1200 watts per woofer, so we have 1200 watts to this woofer and 1200 watts to this woofer on separate amps. They're ran by the JL Audio HD 1200/1 amps. This box, you can see we built with the dividers in the center. We've got a couple support braces down the side that have the JL Audio logo in it, and then the baffle board that the subwoofer mounts to is actually two pieces of 3/4 inch MDF. They're sandwiched together to make it a little bit stronger. And then we were able to trim it out with vinyl here down to the factory panels. And then we made a grill piece here out of wood wrapped in vinyl. And then the center part here is all clear 3/4 inch acrylic. What we did here is we CNC'd this out on obviously our CNC machine. And then we were able to router in a channel in this acrylic all the way around, and then we have LED lights that shine in from that. And then also right here we did a Raptor logo, so it's just a Bronco Raptor. So that's kind of the theme we did for the logos, is the Raptor. To mount this subwoofer enclosure, there were some like luggage rack type brackets kind of back here on the sides. So we got some longer extension bolts. We took those factory brackets out, and then when we put the box in here, we screwed holes through that, used some big like fender washers, and then bolted the enclosure down so it's not going anywhere if you were to get in a wreck or anything like that. So from the factory, most of these Broncos have a factory subwoofer in the side panel over here. So in this one, since we did bigger bass, we took out the factory subwoofer, and then we were able to have a little bit of room in there. So back there we built an amp rack that mounts to factory bolt locations, and then that rack houses a 8-channel amplifier which runs all the front speakers in the front doors, dash, and then the A-pillars, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. And then next to that amplifier we were able to put the integration module. It's basically a handshake module that goes from the factory Ford system and then makes it so you can add aftermarket amplifiers, and that was made by NavTV. The amplifier that we use back behind here is a JL Audio VX 800/8i. It's an 8-channel amplifier. You've heard in past videos, if you've watched before, we usually take the 8-channel amp, make it a 6-channel amp by bridging 4 of the channels down to 2 channels, and then that gives more power to go to the mid-bass speakers in the front doors to give them a little bit more power. That amp also has a built-in DSP in it, so we're able to do all the crossovers, time alignment, phasing, all that type of stuff, all from that amplifier through a computer program that we have. So up here is where the factory speakers usually are. There's usually like a little factory pod that goes up here, has a little like 3 or 4 inch speaker, sounds like complete garbage. So we take those out, and then we use these ATV speakers. They're made by JL Audio. These are like a speaker pod. They have a 6.5 inch speaker with a tweeter in the center, a coaxial mount speaker. And then we add, usually on these Broncos, we'll add, this is an accessory you can add to them. It's a little end cap that goes on the back of them that has a downfire light. So it's kind of nice to be able to turn that on if you have cargo back here or anything like that, to get a little bit more lighting in this back area. And then on these ones, we actually use the ones that have, they have the accent lighting on the front of them, and we just set it up to be the blue accent lighting. To get these to fit in here, nobody really makes a bracket that mounts, you know, to the factory like a Bronco style bracket. Most of these come with like a clamp style bracket or like a surface mount bracket. So we order the surface mount bracket for it, and then we machine on our CNC or our routers, some adapters here where we can bolt to the factory bolt location. We do have to drill one more hole in this roll bar, and then we put a threaded insert in there, and then that gives us 2 mounting locations. They're all threaded and tapped, so it goes right in there. And then we use like a 1/4 inch aluminum, and then we sandwich it between 2 pieces of like 1/8 inch ABS, so it kind of gives it that black effect and gives you a little bit of a silver trim ring here to kind of match the speaker. Here you can see these rear pod speakers a little better. You can see they have the blue accent lights in them. And they're tucked up out of the way far enough that they usually don't get in the way when you're looking out the rearview mirror or trying to change lanes. So they may look like they're a little bit big back there, but they don't get in your way as far as line of sight when you're driving. All right, back here in the back, these are the other 3 amplifiers that we put in. 2 of these amplifiers are a monoblock amplifier, so 1 to each subwoofer like I was mentioning earlier. I can't remember which side is which, but let's just say these 2 here are for the subwoofers, 1 for the left subwoofer, 1 for the right, or vice versa. And then the last amplifier is a 4-channel amplifier, and that amplifier runs these rear door speakers, the Flax 6.5s, and then the JL Audio pods up here on the bar. You can see that we did kind of some cool trim here. We've got different kinds of vinyl, you know, with a little more texture and a little less texture on this piece. And then we have a little suede right here. And then we did this accent lighting. Again, we used the 3/4 inch acrylic, and then did the Raptor logos. And then down below, we did our logo, kind of down out of the way. So kind of gives it a little bit of depth or whatever, where it's got different layers that kind of move back. And then, you know, it's kind of cool to use different kinds of vinyl so that it's not all kind of the same thing. And then also adding the suede. So if we did need to service this stuff, this piece pops off, and then this panel here will pop off. And then underneath these amplifiers, there's actually some fuse blocks. Each amp is fused individually. For power wire that runs to these, we ran 2 0-gauge power wires from the batteries back to here, and then it goes into the distribution blocks, and then from there it's a 4-gauge, full copper wire going out to each one of the amplifiers. So one thing I was going to mention is when we're building something, the first thing that we try and do is we usually will build the main structure of it first and then mount it to the vehicle. If possible, it's always best to build your mounting brackets first and then build off from there. So I'm guilty of not doing it, but it always works better if you can make a solid point to mount something to and build up off of it. So nothing's ever shifting left to right. So all your measurements are correct. So in this one, we built the subwoofer enclosure, made the mounts to mount it to the floor. Then we would mount the amp rack to the subwoofer enclosure, and then we would start building all the trim out from there. So that way all your measurements aren't going to move left to right, up or down, and everything mounts where it's supposed to. All right, here in the back doors of this, if you're familiar with the Broncos, they usually have like a little net type thing here that you can store stuff in, gloves and things like that. So he wanted the most sound possible, so we went ahead and added some speakers back here. We took this door off and we actually made like a pattern here and bolted it in, and then Mark was able to get it up on the router table and then routed out a perfect circle into this door panel. And then he made like this little filler piece that comes out and wrapped it in vinyl to kind of seal off the speaker from the front and the back here at the top. And then this front layer that he made, he used the factory locations to where that net used to be mounted to, and he was able to make this piece. We use some plastic or composite here, and it's called Vicom. It's kind of like a starboard type stuff that you would use in a marine application. It's really, it's got a little texture on the front of it. It looks cool when you router stuff into it. So he was able to router some of these little patterns in here, and if you look closely, these patterns here match the back of the seat. So we tried to tie that into here. So it turned out really good, really rugged. And then for the speaker grill, instead of using the ones that come with these rear speakers, which these rear speakers are focal speakers, they're their Flax series, 6.5 inch with a tweeter in the center, a coaxial style. Instead of using the grill that it came with, we ordered some of the Utopia grills, and I'll show you, we used the Utopia speakers in the front of this vehicle. We just thought it looked a little more rugged, kind of cool. So anyway, turned out really good. And also one other thing we did is in the door jambs here, in these they do have quick disconnects in case you want to take the doors off of these vehicles. So we couldn't really find any sourcing to find the pins that would go into the factory Molex plug here. So we used a Deutsch connector here that's really easy. You just press this little button on it, and then you can unplug the speaker wire, and then you can unplug the wire that's for the factory door. So you can still take the door off. There's no extra speaker wires that don't have a connector on there. All right, up here in the front doors, we're basically the same type of thing as the rear doors. Usually has a little pocket type thing here with a net on it. It mounts to these screw locations. So took the net off, also made a pattern, put the door panel on the router table, routed out a perfect circle. And up here we were able to get an 8-inch mid-bass in the door. So we used the Focal Utopia 8, I think it's like a 8WM is the model number. 8-inch mid-bass. Again, used the Vicom for this outer portion, vinyl wrapped little piece here to go in the back, mounts to factory locations. So that turned out really good. Used the grill that's made for the Utopias. That's why we used this grill in the rear so that they would match. Door panel wise, inside, we were able to sound deaden, the outer skin and the inner skin, so all the doors are sound deadened. The rear of the vehicle is also sound deadened, like where the cargo area is under the box, back there by the amplifier and all that stuff that's in the side panel. In the door jamb here, we did a Deutsch connector, quick disconnect for the speaker wires that go in here, so we can still be able to pull the whole door off if he wants to take it off. So from the factory, there's usually a 6-inch speaker in the kick panel, and then there's usually a tweeter up here in the dash. We abandoned the 6-inch in the kick panel since we did the 8 in the door. And then up here in the dash where there used to be a tweeter or like a little 2-inch or whatever, we did the 3.5-inch I think it's WM Focal Utopia speaker. It's their mid-range, their best mid-range. We were able to mount that, to the factory locations, fit it under the factory grill. We did do a little detail where it has a little B&O sticker right here. We made the little Focal emblem on our laser, so it doesn't really say B&O anymore anywhere. And then for the tweeters, what we did is in these A-pillars, we built some custom grills, and then you will see that there is a little vent here, and this is the defrost vent for the door panel. So that was in the way for the tweeter. So what we were able to do there is we made all the brackets for the tweeter and mounted it in there, and then Mark took that piece is usually what they call plastic welded on. It's basically where they melt the tabs when they attach it to this piece. So heats those up, pops that off, able to get the tweeter in there, and then he basically took a torch or like a heat gun to the vent, and then got it hot enough where he could press on the tweeter so that it would mold around the tweeter, and then that way this could go back in there and still fit the tweeter, and you would still have airflow that goes through there. And then once he was done doing that, to reattach that, sometimes when you take apart a plastic welded piece, there's not enough material there to re-plastic weld it together. So we use a 2-part epoxy just to kind of dab on where they connect together so that this piece connects to this piece really well. You will see that this panel that he made for the tweeter, it's a 2-part piece. So basically pocketed into this piece. It's really, it's like a 1/4-inch piece of acrylic. So there's a lot of detail in it, rounded the edges, pocketed it in so that he could screw it on from the front. And then there's a 1/16-inch piece of this material that we can laser and put the logos in. That's the actual grill piece that goes over. And then painted the edges and stuff with a black paint to make it match. So it turned out really good. Looks like factory. Also here in the center console, we did 2 knobs for control. One of them is for the subwoofer control, so he's able to turn up how much bass, or if he wants to turn the bass all the way off, he can do that from that knob. And then the other one is for the upper rear speakers, the ones that are up on the bar, because those are pretty loud and it kind of takes away from the front stage. So he can dial those down if he wants to, or if he wants them really loud, he can turn that up from that second knob. And then we did logos on the laser, so it's labeled sub and roof speakers. One other small detail that we did, that we do on a lot of our builds on customers' vehicles that don't drive them all the time, it's not their everyday driver, which this one is not. He's actually got 2 Broncos and couple Ford trucks and stuff that we've done. So he doesn't drive this very often, so he likes to keep it on a trickle charger. So in the front here, we put a little port here, and this is a magnetic charge port. So these contacts go up to the battery. It's got a fuse on it, so you can plug in a charger like in your garage or whatever by just clicking this thing on. You don't have to like push it in or anything. It just clicks right on there. That way, if he pulls into the garage, clicks it on there, forgets it's plugged in, goes to back out, it'll just unplug itself. So this is the other end of that piece that I was just telling you about. This would be the piece that would click on. That light's just showing you, it's a green light that's showing you that it's connected to the battery, not that it's charging. So that just clicks on there like that. And then the other end of it is just basically your standardized, mini charger port that usually comes on most of your trickle chargers. You just plug that into this. So easy as that. You just pop the cover right on when you're done, and you're on your way. All right, that pretty much sums this one up. The best thing you can always do for our channel or any other channel is if you like what you saw, hit the like button or maybe leave a comment. We're not looking for the comments that say that's too expensive, I could do it better or whatever. We know we're not the best. We know we're not the cheapest. We also know that we're not the most expensive and that we're not the worst. We're just trying to show you what we can do, and we do it to the best of our abilities every time, and every time we try and get better. So one other thing too is a lot of you might have followed us here from other social media platforms. If you're not familiar with us, we used to have Facebook and Instagram. We got rid of all that stuff. It's just getting, I didn't really enjoy it anymore. So we're focusing all our energy on YouTube. So we're trying to grow that and just show a little bit more about the builds rather than just showing pictures and reels. I was just over reels and things like that. So anyway, if you enjoy this type of content, share it, like it, subscribe. That would help us out. If you don't, I guess it was nice, hanging out with you for this video, but maybe we won't see you on the next ones. But for those that are going to stick around, we appreciate it, and we will see you on the next one. And do stick around, because I think the one after this, we got a good one coming up. We're going to do a video on pretty much the biggest boat build we have ever done in our 20 years here at the shop. We did do it probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm going out to film it probably tomorrow, and it's pretty cool. It's got 16 amplifiers, all kinds of speakers, subwoofers. If you've been around for a long time and been following us, you've seen it. It's a G25 Nautique, but it's super badass. Anyway, if you want to check out other cars that we've done, I do have playlists made. So if you want to look through those, we got playlists for audio, playlists for radar detectors, and then another miscellaneous one for some like shop update type stuff. So go through there, see if maybe we have your type of vehicle or one that you're looking at, and you can see what we did. Anyway, thanks again, and sorry for rambling. See you next time.